Mute yourself, Mark. Thanks. We're going to be going in a minute. This is a show of all shows. Um, I don't know where you've been or what's going on, but we had a school board member call the police. This is something else. Why? Why did this happen? What's going on? We have Jill Wilbright in the studio, and I'm going to be recording in just a moment. Thankfully, I remembered to mute that. All right, so listen up. We're going to go in just a moment.
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Jerlyn Denny.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Wake up and good morning. I don't know about you, but there's some stuff going on here in Flagler County, particularly Flagler County schools. Now, there's not just Flagler schools. Let me just be clear. Schools around the nation don't know why this is happening, but it's a mess going on. So hot off the presses, hot out of, I'm not even going to say the police car because that would be wrong, but hot off of the police report, we have today in the studio the Honorable Jill Wilbright.
911, what's your emergency?
Jill, what is going on? What is going on? You called the police. Tell me what's happening. From your word, why is there a police report out there from a school board member?
Well, my job is to protect children in this county and to look out for children and my constituents. And so one day I was just looking on social media like I usually do. And you're right, these kind of things are going on all over the nation. And I just hit on a video, and I played a video, and it was a book being read aloud to a school board in Pennsylvania. And it was extremely graphic and disturbing to know that that book was in a school system. And so I don't know why, but I just reached for my laptop and went on our e-catalog with Flagler County Schools and Googled that title. And lo and behold, that title, that book, 2 copies were in our FPC, 1 copy in Matanzas High School, and even more disturbing, 1 copy in Buddy Taylor Middle School.
So when you talk about this book, we're talking about a book titled All Boys Aren't Blue. And I'm going to tell you, I was horrified. I was horrified thinking to myself, there is no way that this book is in our school system. Not Flagler schools, maybe somewhere else, maybe something else, but not Flagler schools, because I could not believe it.
I couldn't either. And so what I did was know that Facebook can be deceiving. So I went online and saw that the book was in our public library. So I went and checked the book out. And lo and behold, everything the woman in the video read was in the book and then some. And it was extremely disturbing.
Now, when we talk about stuff that's disturbing, I want our listeners to understand that this book, I can't even play it on air at all. It talks about a person, a young man having an erection. I can say that. There's sodomy in it. It goes on to talk about the use of a condom, sexual intercourse, and some graphically describing it in detail. Stuff that I don't even know where to begin. So Jill, you hear about this book, and then what?
Right. It's not just a mention of some kind of encounter. There's an incestual relationship between a young boy and a teen. There's oral sex. There's sodomy. There's masturbation. There's all kinds of obscenity between in this book. And it's not just a page or 2. There's a chapter called All Boys Are Boys, And so that whole chapter is about the ancestral relationship that he had with a cousin. And then there's another title, I'm drawing a blank at the title right now, but it's Losing My Virginity Twice. So I will not go in graphic detail of how he loses his virginity twice, but that's where the woman in the video that I saw stopped reading because it is that disturbing. So I read and saw that it was true. So then I Googled state statute. So in state statute chapter 1006 for support for learning, it's a chapter, but in that chapter it says that the school board is responsible for monitoring curriculum and media books. So it is my responsibility to make sure that appropriate things are being taught to our kids. So I take that to heart. In that chapter on support for learning and who is responsible for those materials, it refers to chapter 847, and that chapter is about a 15-page document that describes and defines words and describes actions that are considered obscene. So it's on obscenity. So those things that are described in the state statute for 847 on obscenity, several counts of that are in that book. So then I knew that not only was I responsible for this information as a school board member, but I was also responsible because it just said in 847, it describes the counts of these things being available to children in K through 12 public schools as a crime, as a felony. So then just ask for our policies. I send an email to district office asking for our policies, and I get an email back that I need to bring it up in a workshop. I asked for the Media Center handbook, procedures and policies, and I was told I needed to bring it up in a workshop because all the board members would need to know this information. So I brought it up on this November 2nd school board workshop meeting. I have had, people think that people are usually in an echo chamber and they hear what they hear. But I'm here to tell you that I've been in this community since the 80s, and the majority of the people in this county that I come across are conservative-minded people. They are conservative-minded people. They are not the minority. They are in the majority. And so I was hearing from parents about critical race theory and slanted views about making Washington, D.C. a state and stuff that leaned one side politically. And they felt like that our reading materials for our children was being slanted to indoctrinate for one political view and not giving a balanced view of things, especially to elementary school. So I brought that up. And then the second thing I brought up was I wanted to know what our policy and procedures were for vetting books, or how we decided what books we would put in our media centers. And basically, Flagler County Schools does not have a policy and procedure handbook. And I had done my homework and Googled other districts, and I found that other districts did. And in fact, the one north of us where our superintendent came from, St. Johns County, has a media center handbook that is approximately 250 pages, and it has a lot of forms and different things in there, permissions. So it is not common to not have one. So luckily, I got agreement with two other board members. Two board members didn't want any censorship or anything with any of our library books, but two others did agree with me. So I got the 3 votes for it to be on a future workshop, and I believe that will be workshopped in December. So after that, I did. So then I knew what our policies and procedures were, that we basically didn't have any set written ones other than the small policy that's on our board docs. So then I went the next day and revealed to the superintendent and the school board attorney what I had found. And I played them the video that was put out on YouTube by Moms for Liberty, with a Moms for Liberty reading the book in Pennsylvania. And I left the room because it's very hard to hear, and I don't want that stuff in my mind. So when I came back in the room, they were disturbed. They agreed that it was not proper. So I made it really clear then that I wanted those books out of the media centers. And so they did eventually, they did the next day pull those books. There's one outstanding book out there that a student still has, last I knew. I have not been told that they got it, but some of them were checked out at the time. So, and that they pulled those books, and then they were going to research it. And I made it clear at that meeting that all school board members needed to know about that, my discovery, because according to state statute, according to the statute for obscenity, and according to the that it was criminal that they were in our schools. So I made it clear I wanted all school board members to know. And mind you, it was also at the workshop brought up that policy 210 is where it states, and we were going over our handbook, which we do yearly, and we were updating it. And I made the point that twice this past year, I was blindsided by information that other school board members had, but I didn't. And our policy 210, says that the superintendent is supposed to make sure that all board members get information in a timely manner and that we all get it at the same time. So if I were to bring forth something, which happened to me just about a month in August when we had a vote, a board member brought something forward and it wasn't shared with the rest of the board of what we had not talked about in workshops, because as board members, we can't talk to each other. It wasn't shared with me. Now, some of the board members knew about it, and even members in the audience knew about it, but I didn't know about it. So at that workshop on the 2nd, I also said that needs to stop, that a board member should never be surprised at a board meeting on new information, that especially when it was something important or an emergency type thing, and be surprised by not knowing what was going to be presented to them. So that's why I made sure I said that I wanted the other school board members to know. So I waited, and then on the weekend I talked to the attorney and asked again, and I was told that it would go out on Monday. Well, it didn't.
All right, so let me interject here, because this is what's going on. So several times now, at least 2 other times, information has been shared, you found out, with other school board members that had not been shared with you, that you've been blindsided at school board meetings. So that's one issue. Another issue is you discovered that these books that are full of pornographic images, not necessarily images in terms of painting, but just describing these crazy obscenity that is considered illegal, right? In our school system, talking about masturbation, sodomy, oral, all different types of things. This is what's happening in Flagler County School. There's a book that you can check out. You also talked about you was at a workshop, school board workshop, where you discussed it. I'm very, very surprised because one of the school board members just stated it, 2 of them actually didn't have a problem with children reading anything and everything. Let them read anything and everything. Well, as a parent, I have a problem with my children reading things that's going to put some foolishness in their mind at a young age. Children should not be thinking about stuff like that, what condoms taste like. I mean, this is what's in the book.
Mr. J, that's why all you're saying is true, and that's what happened. And so I came to a point that I had this information for a while. I'd given the superintendent and the attorney time to disseminate that information and to get back to me with information. And all I know is that they were working on it and they'd pulled the books. And to me, I know that if that one book is in there and I just by luck ran across that title and checked, and that there's got to be more. So to me, it's an emergency situation for the youth in our school with these young adult books that are in our schools. So that's why I made the decision for the students in this county and for the parents for things to be transparent, because I wanted it public knowledge so that the parents know what to look for, so parents can talk to their kids if they actually have read this book. But I wanted the parents to know, because parents have rights to know what things go in the mind of their kids, especially if this kind of stuff is in our libraries. So that's why I called and made a report last night with the Flagler County Sheriff's Department so that they will investigate it, not the curriculum department and the GSB, not and make sure that I wanted it to go public, and I wanted the Sheriff's Department to investigate. And if they come up that it's not a crime, that's acceptable, by golly, at least now the parents know that that's acceptable in Flagler County schools. It's not acceptable to me, and it's not acceptable to the people in my circle and people contacting me. But if that's acceptable, then by golly, we're following the law. Or the sheriff's going to find out that it's not acceptable and a crime's been committed. Either way, parents have rights to know what's going on in our schools and what information is available for our kids, and then they can make decisions as a parent as to how best to rear their children.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming forward. Thank you so much for coming forward, because this took a lot. It took a lot to come forward, to call the police, to report a crime based on the statute that you had read. Flagler schools, mainly the school superintendent, Kathy Middlestat, and also the school board attorney, Christy Gavin, had this information for a week, and information for approximately a week, did not notify any of the other school board members at all. Did not, okay, so they pulled a couple of books,
Correct.
But how many other books are there? How much stuff is there that we are unaware of? I do not want my daughter checking a book out of the school, talking about one of the scenes, just so you guys know, this is too graphic for me to even mention on radio, to even mention on social media or anything like that. But and I'm paraphrasing, it talks about his boxers were down and he was erect. And he said, taste it. Come on, Matt, taste it. I don't want that. I don't want that image in my child's head when she needs to be going to school to learn other things. That's not the type of stuff we need to introduce to our children. So I applaud you. Thank you so much for coming forward.
Sir Jay, and it's not easy to put myself out there and make a stand this boldly, but it is for our children. And at this point, I don't care what people think. I care about truth, and I care about the truth being out to our families so that we can make sure that we're taking care of our kids. Middle school students are not prepared emotionally to handle the information that's in that book. And I'm here to tell you, I would think most high school students are not prepared emotionally to handle the information that is in that book. And yes, we have mental health crisis in this country, and maybe it's because our youth are subject to things that they shouldn't be subjected to. So thank you for having me, and I've got to get, so.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right, guys, we've got to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. I've got Pastor James Bellino. He's in the hot seat. We're going to talk about this and hear what he has to say.
Is that how you wanted it?
That's good. That's good. All right, Mark. So you can embed the other stuff. Thank you so very much. I'm going to go ahead on to James. How much time I have, Mark?
All right, I'm gone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Is that shocking to you?
Yeah. Yep. We got about 7 minutes.
Okay. Well, Pastor James. So you shouldn't have the echo. Mute yourself, Mark, because James and I are just going to be talking from here on out. I'll just go ahead on and come in from the break, thank our sponsors, and then you can embed the music so there won't be thing. And just text me because I'm watching. Just text me when I'm 1 or 2 minutes out. Pastor James, you ready?
I'm ready.
Fired up and ready. Okay, guys, this is the behind the scenes of Today with Pastor Jay. First part, the majority of the show, we had Jill Woolbright. She was talking about a book called All Boys Aren't Blue. Pastor James, you've seen some of the images and some of the graphics, and you've heard some of that. So I'm going to come in and then we're going to discuss it. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Today with Pastor Jay. Want to give a shout out and a thank you to my sponsors, 500bankruptcy.com and thefloridamortgagecenter.com. Thank you for sponsoring Today with Pastor Jay. So before the break, Jill Woodbright, she's a tough cookie. I got to give it to her, Pastor James.
She is.
I mean, she went, y'all not messing with these babies in school. I have an obligation to these students in the school, and she did it. I got to give it to her. She did. So what say you?
That's her responsibility. Like that, she's stepping up, and I think we're seeing this around the nation. Pastor Jay, is parents have through this pandemic, they've been finding out what their kids are actually learning and the books that they have available to them in libraries, and these school boards are stepping up and taking the responsibility that they should have had, that we kind of abdicated by parents not knowing what their kids were being taught. That's why you're seeing this around the nation. So I just applaud Jill for having the gumption to do it, and to do it where we're not apologizing. This is the facts, and this is the ugliness of what's happening, and we need to address it. And I'm thankful to have somebody like Jill on our school boards here in Flagler County.
You know, I'm just appalled that for a week, the superintendent and Christy Gavin just did not notify the other school board members. It is their responsibility. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. They're not following procedures, not following guidelines. These are those that have been hired by the school board. And I'm just flabbergasted. Are they even concerned about the mental health of our students, our children? Are they even concerned? I really don't know. They say they are, but when I see them pull stunts like this, we're talking about a graphic book. All Boys Aren't Blue. Look, guys, you can go out there, Google All Boys Aren't Blue, go on YouTube where this lady reads it, and it will read some of the things. Pastor James, you listened to some of that. What was your first thought?
I couldn't believe this was in the library. I mean, number one, you have to have a parent's permission and somebody to escort you to a 17, an R-rated movie. You got to be 17 or above. And here we're having books for middle schoolers and just public information in our libraries about homosexual encounters and condoms. And at what point did our school system take over the role of educating people in sex? Our kids, guess what? For thousands of years, the human race has been able to propagate without the education system being involved in educating regarding sex. I'm done with them. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? Hashtag defund public schools. This is the reason why people need to pull their children out of public schools. I'm advocating for that. I'm saying it now. They need to go. People need to start educating their own child at home. Education begins at home. I do not co-parent with the government. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous what's going on. You send your child to school. You expect them to get an education. You do not expect them to come back to figure out how to put a condom on, different flavors of condom, and what two men do or two young boys do, or a man or woman. I want to make this clear. This isn't about homosexual activity. I would be just as outraged if it was heterosexual activity described in a book that my child brought home the way this was described. I would be just as outraged, completely outraged. I want to know, and this is what I'm hoping, and I hope that they hear me on the radio. Everybody go ahead on and tag every school board member, tag the superintendent, tag the attorney. Look, tag everybody. I don't care who you tag. I want to know who was responsible for ordering this book. This book only been out since 2020. Somebody had to order this book. There's somebody in somebody's media center thought it was a good idea to put this pornographic language on in the media center for a child to check out. And what happens is, it's not about how many times it was checked out. It's not about whether or not somebody passed the book around. It's not about the storyline. I heard somebody, it may have a good storyline. It's not about that. The point is this: we still sign permission slips to talk about health education in our school. We still do that, whether or not we want them to talk about that. This has gone a little bit too far. I want to know who's responsible. Not only do I want to know who is responsible, Pastor James, I want them. Look, they need to be fired. There's something needs to happen. This is ridiculous. Plus, we need a standard. We've got to do something better than this. Why should our school board members have to call 911 to report a crime? When we have a superintendent and an attorney for all things sitting on this information and not sharing it with the other school board members who ultimately are responsible for the things that are in the media center.
Does it beg the question about, does it become a political issue where people are so worried about keeping their own agendas and their own ideologies progressing as opposed to what is best for the kids and being able to work together with the other school board members for the betterment of our families and our children? That's what it comes down to.
You know, I have a 17-year-old daughter, and she started out, well, Mom, I don't want to ban books. I think everybody should read anything they want to read. Let me tell you what I did. I opened up the book. I started reading it. She's like, whoa. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to know that. I said, but I thought you said that everybody can read anything and everything. What you mean you don't want to hear it? And the sad thing is this. Some of this stuff is hidden in books. You don't know it's there until you read it. And several of my children are avid readers. You don't know it's there until you run across it. And she said, I heard of this book. She said, I heard about it. So even if they're not checking it out or reading it, they're hearing about this stuff, this nastiness. I'm gonna call it as it is, pornography. It's horrid and it's horrible. There's some incest in there. It's just horrid and it's too young. It's too much. These ears that's in public schools is too young for that. I'm gonna tell you right now, hashtag defund public schools. Hashtag defund public schools. All right, Pastor James, thank you so much for joining me. Last words before I close out.
Great to be here. I thank you for champions like Jill Wilbright that have our kids' best interest at heart. So thank you for what you do as well.
Thank you, guys. All right, you know what I say. Yesterday's is gone. Tomorrow's not promised. What are you going to do today? You are going to call and email the superintendent of Flagler County Schools and the attorney and go, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? And then I want you to go out and hashtag defund public schools. Need to say hashtag defund Flagler schools. I'm sick of this foolishness. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day. All right, Mark, I think that's it. That's just foolishness.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. What is wrong with these people?
I'm going to take you off, Mark. I still got Pastor James on here. Thanks, Mark. You can close out when you want. Guys, this is serious stuff. I know you're watching me. Pastor James, you and I, we can just continue on with the candid conversation. If you guys did not know what was going on, but there's one of many, and I'm going to say many because I don't know how many books that there are, that have been in Flagler schools that's talking some crazy foolishness. Would you read that? That's like reading that to your child for story time. What kind of craziness? Craziness.
I mean, it is crazy. I mean, and think about this. What are we teaching our kids? What is the teaching value of this book? I'm just like, what is the outcome? If we're here to educate our kids and we have a library of literature, whose determination says this is the best way to educate children, not young adults of 21 and 25, but we're talking about 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Mm-hmm. Who makes that decision? Somebody has to be responsible for this.
Well, that's crazy. Thank you, Pastor James. I'm going to go. Hey, guys, y'all take care. God bless you. Oh, I'm fired up. Hashtag defund public school. I'm done with public school. Done with you. I'm done. Thank God my daughter's a senior in high school. I don't know if I can make it. I don't know. I want to pull her out now. Thankfully, she knows not to read it or listen to it.
Now you know why I've homeschooled all four of ours.
Oh my goodness. Now I get it. Oh,
All right.
all
God
right,
bless.
guys. I'm
Take care.
actually here in Texas, San Antonio, Texas. So
Woohoo!
I know. Woo, I'm gonna get me some
Yeehaw.
good barbecue. Yeehaw,
Oh.
you fun. I'm gonna do some good barbecue. Then people gonna ask me, "Hey, what you doing?" I'm gonna go hashtag public school.
Be fun to-
public school. Be fun to school. All right.
All right.
Take care. Bye bye.
Take care. Safe travels.